just you've been here for a few years. You've seen the things the team has gone through. What does it feel to be able to come into this game, come out with a win, and for it to be a game where you get a goal contribution after the performances you've been giving throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, been here the last few years. Obviously, not where we wanted to be. Tonight was awesome, giving our fans what they deserve. First and foremost, giving them a product that they're proud of, especially. And for me, it's one of the things coming here. I wanted to bring Chicago back to the postseason and compete for championships. So fortunate to be part of a goal contribution tonight, but ultimately, you saw from everybody, it was a collective unit.
Johnny, curious. Orlando is a team you know a lot about, drafted by, didn't get the opportunity in MLS with them. What does it feel like to be able to pull this off against a team that I imagine you want to prove yourself against time and time again?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's, one of those that's kind of in the back of your mind. But at the end of the day, I don't hold any grudges or anything. It's business, I understand. And, for them, they allowed me to come in and compete. And, ultimately that's professional sports. So happens tonight that we got the result and we move on in the postseason. So,
Alex Calabrese, MLSsoccer.com. Johnny, Orlando City, a team you guys have had a lot of fun against this year. Was there anything going into this game that stood out that you knew was going to be one-sided like that?
Not necessarily, but for us, we, like you said, this year we've had a good run against them, and it was continue to what we did successfully previously to capitalize and kind of hurt them. As you saw tonight, obviously our attacking group is very lethal. So it was just one of those is getting behind and fortunately scored some goals.
Jonathan, Jim Alexander's Real Talker. Did at any point you guys feel like on the field or notice like you sort of snatched their soul in a way because you guys were just outrunning them, out more tougher, just in general, the flow was all in your direction? Did you sense it from the players like they were discouraged on Orlando's side, that they knew there's the onslaught they couldn't handle at some point?
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily, felt them being discouraged, but for us in the first half, we felt we had great momentum. Then we were just doing everything we can, to get the win tonight. And like we came in at halftime, and we knew if we went back outside with the same mentality, that ultimately we were going to score some goals. So for us, it was to continue to do that, and we did. And like I said, from everybody, it was 10 out of 10 work ethic. So.
Hi, Johnny. Kirill Anastas of Chicago Sports Nation. Congrats on a great win. It was in the first half on the front foot for much of the game. You were in the final third, in the attacking third for much of it. And then in the 23rd minute, there's that huge clearance, the first really offensive effort we see from Orlando. Talk us through that situation and the mentality of having to snap back into defensive mode in a game where you're spending much of the time in the opposing half.
Yeah, I think, especially, for us, that's that's kind of the most important time to think defensively, right? Of worst case scenario, what could happen? Like you said, they really didn't have much except for that moment, and it could have been a moment. Fortunately, we were there, like you said. But for us, it's kind of been in that moment of when we're attacking to be diligent and aware of teams that can hurt us while we're attacking and kind of keep that defensive unit.
Alex Campbell from CHGO. Johnny, you mentioned, giving the fans what they deserve, especially as a guy who, arrived when the club was in a tough period and is now being part of this rise. You get that moment at the end of the game where you go over and you get to talk to the fans and get to, really experience that up close. What are those interactions like? And, how gratifying is it for you to be able to, have those face-to-face moments and get that appreciation from these fans that you guys talk a lot about working really hard for?
No, I think it's awesome, especially here. It's, the fans are right there. And we can, after every goal celebration, I think after the first one, people were in the crowd with the fans, right? And that kind of gives us that extra bit of, the X factor, right? Especially playing at home, SeatGeek here. We've been very good. And so for us, a lot of that's feeling the atmosphere from the fans. And then when we score and then, you hear them chanting, we want more, right? And so for us, that's encouraging. That's, we want to give the fans something, like I said, to be proud of. And fortunately tonight, that was the case.
Hi, Johnny. Liz Jimenez from La Grande 107.9 FM. Congrats for this win. Can you tell us about the message that Greg has given you guys for be mentally prepared for these kind of games? How the team has worked in being mentally ready for what it comes?
Yeah, his message, throughout the week and today was, we're here for a reason, and to enjoy it, and we could have finished even higher than we did throughout the season, right? And so for him it was, to go out and enjoy it and to embrace the challenge together, but ultimately, be a team and be together and have each other's back out there, because, it's not going to always be, everything we want it to be. And, fortunately tonight, like I said, the team effort playing together, you could really feel it and sense it.
Anyone else? Oh, Joe, one last one.
Johnny, just Hugo scoring 2, but just the first one where it's him, we talk about his work rate all the time, but when it's a work rate goal, capitalizes on a bad back pass, and it's a deflection in, what does it do for the squad to see him, rewarded for all that hard work when it's thankless work a lot of the time as a 9 pressing?
Yeah, it's belief, right? And it's, it trickles down. You see one guy doing it, especially someone like Hugo. If he's doing it, that's the bare minimum, right? And I think for us, that's kind of where we set that bar. It's the bare minimum. What happens throughout the game, mistakes, certain things, uncontrollable. But like you said, when you have your striker doing that kind of work, it's for us, especially as a defender in the back line, it really motivates us to do even more, right? So like I said, kudos to him and 2 great goals tonight.
Hey, Guti, Paul Tenorio from The Athletic. I just asked Hugo this, but you've been here, you're from here. What this win could represent for both internally in the locker room, but externally for the fans on what you guys are building here, maybe some belief that this club is turning towards being a winning club, a club that can put on performances like this in the postseason.
No, I think, it's a turning point of what we want as a team, and it's just one more step towards our goal.
Guti, you know the history of this club more than just about anybody else on this team. What's your emotion that you got to score that first goal since 2012 in the playoffs for the Fire?
No, a great emotion. I think an emotion that I've been waiting, so it's honestly incredible.
Adam from LMD Media Group. You could just see the emotion in your face after you scored that goal. You ran towards the fans. It was just giving like a hometown hero vibe. Just what did that mean for you? And just the work you've put in finally paying off.
No, I think it's, like I said, an incredible feeling because I was once in that stand. And, I've always wanted to do that growing up, and picturing that as a kid and finally doing that today was incredible.
Hey, Gutiérrez, Jim Alexander, Real Talker. Did the moment live up to sort of the imagination expectation you had? Sort of being SeatGeek all these years after you guys finally, did it outlive maybe even the expectations that you had sort of or imagination coming into the game?
Yeah, I think it did outlive it, doing it in person and, living it. It's honestly incredible. And it's just one more step towards what we want. So it's an incredible feeling.
Guti, hablemos en español. Felicidades. Estás haciendo historia. ¿Cómo vives esto? ¿Lo soñaste en algún momento verte en playoffs a la edad que tienes y hacer un gol que fue lo que motivó y que creo que dio más energía para conseguir esta victoria hoy aquí? ¿Cómo lo vives? Te veo muy tranquilo. Para tu edad, te veo como muy chill. ¿Cómo lo vives? ¿Cómo sientes este momento?
No, para mi edad en el fútbol ya soy viejo, pero nada, mentira, pero creo que no, es como dije, una sensación muy bonita lograrlo en persona y como jugador, porque yo fui una hinchada ahí, iba a los juegos de niño y luego hacerlo en persona y como jugador es increíble y no, es algo muy, muy, muy bonito. Gracias.
Kirill Anastasov with Chicago Sports Nation. We were talking to Greg just a moment ago, and he was telling us about how motivated you stayed during these last couple months where you were in and out of the lineup. What kept you going, and how excited were you to get the nod and deliver today in the biggest game of the year?
No, I think other players would probably, take this personal, but I didn't really take it personal. I think it's just working every day, showing up for work and delivering. And whether it's starting or on the bench, I always want to perform at my best and show my qualities for the team and for the fans. And, at the end of the day, it's my work, so I have to deliver, and that's what I'm wanting to do.
Jeff Forver with the Southwest Regional. When you were in those stands, who were some of your favorite players that you watched, and who were you cheering for?
Wow, yeah, good question. But the 2017 squad really stood out for me because I had more of a sense of watching them more. And yeah, I think obviously watching Basti play every game, it's incredible. The composure and the intelligence of play on the ball was fun to watch.
Hey Guti, Tomas Moran with 98.3 FM The Life. I was actually interviewing people in the Sector Latino throughout the game, so I was in that crowd when you jumped in there and everyone was going crazy. Yeah. All those fans in there, you being from the area, of course, what do those fans, the Sector Latino, every, fan from the Fire, what do they mean to you? And when you go up in there and celebrate with them, how does that feel?
No, they're my people, coming from the same background. And, at this point of stage that we're living in and seeing that, cheering us on, it's honestly, I do it for them. And yeah, it's honestly a great connection that we have because we live the same background and we come from the same people.
Guti, just with going back in the starting lineup, going back in with Sergio, for you both to have that kind of performance, what does it say about you and about him to be able to jump back in after these last couple months of in and out of the lineup with the team adjusting to new systems?
Yeah, honestly, I think me and him, we always want to perform on the pitch, and like I said, whether it's starting or coming on from the bench, you have to play the same role and have the same spirit. And I think it was an extra boost for us today because we wanted to make Chicago
proud. So we talked to Greg. He mentioned a little bit about talking about the emotions of this game, just how big the moment was and how to use that. It looked like you and everyone else out there were able to use that in a positive way. You only have a few more days until your next game against Philadelphia. How do you think that those emotions are going to play and help you guys overcome just the fatigue, being on shorter rest than the Union are going to be in that game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's how you prepare mentally. I think this game, if you're not there mentally, then you won't perform at your best. But I think it's, how Philly come out with a great intensity and their home crowd backs them up. So just being aware of that and living the moment and, making plays, play by play. That's how we see it. And yeah, we're looking forward to our next game this Sunday.